So it is my great honor to introduce acclaimed disability advocate, writer, and public intellectual, model, actress, and soon-to-be first-time book author. Hey! And Imani actually told me backstage that it was always her dream to be ballet dancer, so I call it ballet dance. I call this a dance today. Sorry about that. You can find her highly popular account on Instagram at Crutches and Spice. Please welcome Imani Barbarin, who is going to expand and deepen our understanding of who belongs, who decides, and who benefits. Welcome, Imani. Take it away.
Thank you all so much. Thank you. Hello, everyone. My name is Imani Barbarin. I am an African-American woman with a dreadlock bob. I'm wearing a leather jacket and a squiggly black and white dress. I am so grateful to be here. Thank you all for having me. I would like to actually start off by a story about me annoying the crap out of my mom. I do it a lot. As a 34-year-old teenager, quite frankly, I rely on my mom for a lot of things, one of them being her opinion, which she gives freely and oftentimes without me asking. But one day, I was coming home from college and I had to do an assignment. And just like anything else I do, I waited till the very last second. And my professor actually called upon me to talk to somebody who had a different opinion than me, which is always my mom. She really stands in the fray on that one. But I needed to talk to somebody whose opinion was different than my mom, and I wanted to talk to her about my disability identity. You see, I'd gotten really excited about learning about disability. I know, looking at me, you're like, I mean, obviously. But it wasn't until later in my life that I really started delving deep into what disability looked like for me. I had been taught my entire life to overcome my disability, to outperform my disability, and to always do things so that my disability was a little bit smaller, a little bit cutesier, and not in the way of every non-disabled person around me. And while my parents were doing the best that they can, they were teaching me things that they had themselves internalized. So I wanted to ask my mom for this project, hey, what's up? Like, what are we doing here? And I remember my mom and I getting into an argument over feminism, which was tangential, but we'll get to that. But I remember my mom just exclaiming at one point, I raised you to be a black woman, not a disabled black woman. And I looked at my mom and I said, well, yeah, that was on me to do. I had to teach myself not just to navigate the world as a black woman, but as somebody with a disability as well. My mom was raised during a time when the two were mutually exclusive. Disability was hidden from society. It still is in many cases. But from the 1860s until the last ordinance was struck down in 1974 in Chicago, it was illegal in many places for disabled people to be in public. Right? Illegal. The only caveat being that we could be entertainment, which is why we see a lot of intersectionality between this black liberation, the circus, and disabled people. But for the entirety of my mom's childhood and her growing up, she had really no contact, or at least she thought, with disabled people. So when I was born in March of 1990, my mom had no concept of what it would be like to raise a disabled person. In fact, I was born, not to age myself, although I already did, but I was born 3 to 4 months around before the Americans with Disabilities Act was even passed. My parents were young black people raising a disabled child in a world where we didn't exist in public. Around the 1970s, when Geraldo Rivera did journalism, I'm sorry, I don't know what he does now. But in the 1970s, he did a bunch of reports on state-run facilities for disabled people. They were horrific. They were devastating. It showed disabled people of all races warehoused in facilities in their own filth. Some had, since being admitted, had forgotten how to speak. They no longer knew how to use language. And in documentaries around institutionalization of disabled people, there were many stories of disabled people chained to beds for decades at a time. This is our history around disability. Our history is about squirreling away disabled people so it can be convenient to non-disabled people. When those reports came out, the United States government promised that they were going to start integrating disabled people into society. But we live in America. So I guess you all can infer that those institutions never fully closed. We still have institutions across the country that warehouse disabled people. There's still a lack of care, and there's a lack of belonging to disabled people in society to this day. Disability is something that seeps into every single thing. It is as ingrained into our society as any other demographic of people, from the indigenous to our current era right now. Disability has been weaponized against so many communities, particularly those of color. We have a habit of disabling people as a way to show they are disposable to our society. Even the way we use language shows how we think about disability. Do you know that really, really racist joke? I know we have the internet, so I'll tell you which one. But you know that joke that goes, how many fill in the blank does it take to screw in a light bulb? You know that one? Fairly stereotypical, very uncreative, as much of racism is, right? But the punchline is disability. The punchline is intellectual disability. Disability is in the language in which we other people, even if the person that we're talking to does not have a disability. I want to actually read to you the definition of a disability because I want you to listen very closely. So according to the Americans with Disabilities Act, to be protected by the ADA, one must have a disability, which is defined by the ADA as a physical or mental impairment that substantially limits one or more major life activities. A person who has a history or record of such an impairment, or a person who is perceived by others as having such an impairment. Right? Now I hear the oohs and ahs, and thank you so much. But I noticed that you all oohed and awed at the very last clause. This is one of those things that is both good and bad. Because when we think of things like COVID and post-viral illnesses and diseases, we want people to have the capacity to declare themselves as disabled and get the support that they need. However, we also have a history as a country of utilizing that last clause to strip people of their rights, to forcibly institutionalize people. In the state of California, didn't you all just pass Prop 1? Right? Somebody tell me the truth. Yeah. You all passed Prop 1 in the aims of giving expansive rights to care courts for houseless and homeless people, oftentimes at the intersection of disability. Those care courts are very dangerous to disabled people because it gives the state even more expanded rights to take away disabled people's liberties. Conservatorships and guardianships are like oftentimes prisons without walls. There are entire ways to institutionalize and incarcerate disabled people that have no addresses. And they are weaponized against communities of color, those disenfranchised, those who are houseless, those who are poor. And we continuously do this. Disability, I promise you, no matter what you care about, already plays a role, is already being talked about by disabled people who don't feel represented in the avenues of advocacy you are already participating in. Whatever you do, I encourage you, please look at the disability angle, even if you think it doesn't impact you. I always say, when I'm being mean and sarcastic, that the only thing separating me from you is luck and time. At which point, because of the systems that we exist in, you could be thrust into poverty, houselessness. You could be more likely to be involved in an intimate partner violence, more likely to experience SA and things of that nature, simply by having disability in your life and not being able to escape. During the Trump years, okay, thank you. But during the Trump years, there was all this discussion from Americans, particularly privileged Americans, saying, well, I'll just leave. During the global pandemic, they were just saying, I'll just leave if need be. Most countries around the world have ordinances banning disabled people from immigrating. If you're disabled or autistic and want to go to New Zealand or Canada, nope. If you want to escape violence from your home countries, asylum will tell you, yeah, we'll take anybody. We'll make sure that anybody can escape violence. But is that what happens in practice? We are watching as Gazans in Palestine are being disabled en masse. For every one person killed, there are 3 more permanently disabled. And the work to get those people evacuated is exponentially harder because the countries where they are to be evacuated to don't want them because they're now disabled. We live in systems that are designed this way to exclude disabled people, but disabled people exist regardless. We exist in spite of. We don't overcome our disabilities, we exist with them and survive with them. I don't like the narrative that we portray about disabled people, that we're, like my parents had raised me to believe, that we're all supposed to be overcoming and be exemplary and be worthy of non-disabled people's attention. Oh, it's so cute. No, I don't care. My disability will stay with me regardless. And I know that for many of the people in the room who have dealt with disability, it is weird to hear. I don't feel bad about my disability at all. I feel bad about the way people treat me because of it. The tears I have shed 9 times out of 10 do not come from me, but come from the world's insistence that they wear their own ableism within my skin. And that's not my responsibility to bear. We live in a society where disability is weaponized against us, and then we are taught to exclude those people. But I ask of you, as organizers, as advocates, as people wanting to create a world of belonging, to unlearn the ableism you've been taught. That is one of our greatest barriers to moving forward on literally anything and everything. We are taught that certain people have the capacity to lead versus follow. There are disability advocates that have shut down Congress for healthcare. There are disability advocates that have historically laid in front of bus systems so nobody could get to work to make sure that those bus systems were accessible. Down the road, Berkeley, the home of the disability rights movement, the Ed Roberts Center, they were instrumental in helping disabled people get the ADA passed. There is a legacy of activism within the disability community that often goes unnoticed and underappreciated. And like my mom taught me to be a Black woman, but because she taught me to be a Black woman, she may have kind of sort of, don't give her credit, but she may have kind of sort of taught me how to be a disabled Black woman too. Because there's a legacy of disability activism in Black circles as well. Even though we don't use the same language for the same things, it's always been there. Like the Black Panther One Community School, which were the architects of special education, or the National Black Women's Health Project that taught Black women in churches, in nail salons, and group spaces across the country how to advocate for themselves in medical settings. I can guarantee you that no matter what you care about or what you are doing, disability will play a role, and you just have to look for it. But first, it takes having some humility and recognizing a lot of times your own fragility. There are a lot of people in this room who have never identified as having a disability, but you do. Did you hear the definition I just read? Did you hear a list? How many people wear glasses in this room? I see some hands. So you got some accessibility in your life, right? Don't think that because your disability is accommodated that you no longer have one. We need to do more to come to terms with the way that disability plays a role in our life and recognize that we've been taking the lead from disabled people the entire time. And it's okay. It's okay to understand your own vulnerability and the ways that the system has been weaponized against you. It's okay to say that you need rest and restoration. It's okay to take the lead from disabled people and to understand new ways of belonging, because disabled people have had to make a way in a society that does not even see us as people a lot of the time. And that is the lead I want you to take today. I want you to think about the ways in which disability plays a role in anything that you're doing, because it already is. And sometimes it's already you doing it. Thank you.